Good morning, everybody. It's TGIF. Thank God it's Friday, and here we go. I'm jumping in right into the code, and yesterday worked on a handful of different things, working on some passive recovery, doing a bunch of the menu options, checking through some profile stuff, making sure that page loads everything it's supposed to, where it's supposed to, and when it's supposed to. So, especially on refreshes and stuff. A lot of the code's in place, but just requires some testing and fixing along the way. So basically just gonna see if I can't get them all in place. And for now, because I'm working on the menu system, what I did was I've remarked out going to the, let me get the code page up here. What I'm doing is I remarked out loading the initial environment. That way I can load the menu system faster and check different screens and test a bunch of stuff there without having to load the whole scene each time. That'll speed things along. I do this periodically when I'm trying to test out certain framework of the functions instead of diving right into the code. So, with that said, let's jump in. First thing is, as you can see, when I load the page, I'm already logged in, so it does give me my login down here. And when I go here, edit my profile, basically I don't have it doing anything yet. So that's the piece I'm going to work on. We're going to create a profile page, and we're going to see if we can't get it to show some stuff. So first things first, it's in the menu, and when you're logged on, this is the page we're seeing right here, my profile. So that is actually this page right here. So edit the profile is the first button on that page, and what I want to show you is that the on-click event, I took it off because before I was using the WordPress site as the profile and sharing the account with that. Now I've made them all independent, and it actually runs locally on its own machine. So I need to actually create a profile page, and I'll just shove that right in here someplace. See, we have register, and we have password recovery that we worked on yesterday. We have the login page, and we have this profile page. So I'm going to create one right here, and it's going to be, let's see, similar to, let's see if there's a page that does, I'm just going to grab this one because it's the basics of a form, but it's not overwhelmingly too much stuff here. Copy that. And that'll give us a starting point of the format without having to retype everything from scratch. And okay, so we have menu login, or logged in, and this is going to be menu edit profile. That way we do have some place. Let's double check and make sure that name's not used anywhere in our code, and it's only used on the line I just typed it, which is a good sign. Okay, help will leave the login. I'll leave that there for now. We'll have to fix that later on. But edit profile. Profile note. I'm going to leave the profile note there for a moment until I decide I don't need a note. And the first thing we're going to have is, okay, so we're going to have some items here, for example, the username, that we're not necessarily going to let them change at this time. I know that it's, it could go either way on username. And so this one is going to just be, we're going to just call this edit username. We'll throw a value on there on load. I'm just setting them up first, and then we'll set up the values for that. It grabs whatever's in the database. How much do we really want to do in this? I think I'm going to trim down some of these fields because we really don't need certain ones. It can be an expansion pack or a plugin later on for adding more fields to the profile. But for now, the biggest thing we need is to know username, and then we have email. Oops, what did I say? Email. I meant to say edit email. I think edit username should be unique. Let's double check that. Every time I create a field, I just want to make sure that I don't have more than one of them in the app. Okay, so we're good on both of those, and we're going to edit error text. And we'll double check that name. There's only one. Okay, so we're good on that. And the button is going to say save profile. And then this link here is well, let's call that cancel. We'll just call it cancel. What it'll be is it will be a basically running back to the profile page. I don't want to say save profile then back to profile when you're on the edit profile page. So I just we'll put a cancel, so if you don't want to make the changes, you can just click cancel. Cancel we should have some icon for that. We'll figure that out. I have a number of icons bouncing around that I've already created. We'll see which one's there, and then we'll take it from there. So what we need to do. Okay, this one I'm gonna say disable equals true. The reason is because I don't want them to edit their username once they put it in. Username's not what the display name is, so it's okay to do the username there and be able to get the display name. Email address here. See, I'm trying to trim this down and fix a couple things. One of the items is that when I first created this, I set it up to have a username. I had a username. I had a user ID, which is user ID is concrete. That's the one that we don't want to change. We don't want to have any issues. We'll make it later on. I'll open that up where you can change your username, but for now I don't want to do it. But user ID is the account. So we have that. We're not worried about duplicating accounts at that point. Username, we just want to make sure they're unique, so if somebody uses it as a login name or something, it's unique. But then we also have email, and we only want those to be unique and set up in the system as unique email addresses. So, yeah, I know. When you start thinking too much about this stuff, it gets too many items to track. So the other part is this. Since we can set the display name, and that is our avatar display name, we can set that in the avatar menu, but do we also want to set it here? That way they kind of sync with each other. Well, no, let's not put them here because you can have multiple avatars, still have the same user. So let's keep this stuff as clear and precise as we can. Okay, so we have username, we have email. I don't really need... Okay, so company name, phone, email. Okay, so technically... blah, 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 blah. Technically, there's two parts here. One is... Okay. When I'm on this page, let's think about this. When I'm on this page, if I can make it instead, since all I'm going to have is an image here, an avatar name, and then a login name. The reason it didn't say the avatar name is because I didn't load the page that shows the avatar. So that'll change as it loads the avatar. Instead of making these where it has a whole separate page and the only thing I'm running is ability to change the avatar name or the login. Blah, 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 blah. I think well, I don't have email there. I could just make this the profile page since it's called profile. Take off the edit profile button and make this page the actual page. I don't see any reason for doing this twice, and it seems like a very duplicate work. Okay, so we're going to backtrack here. We do not need this whole piece. Sometimes you just got to think about what's going to be the easiest for users. Since the only thing I'm really adding is the ability to have a you know what I do want to do is okay, so the one thing I am going to do is I'm going to break that into a different line so that the avatar name does not show up on the same name as the menu profile picture. That way it centers on the top row. We're doing a little bit of cleanup on the actual design here. So we'll put this here. Oops. Okay, we'll end that row there. We can class equals that and WTW center. That should make it center. And then underneath it, we're going to create a different row. We will use this. I want to create this. Now, let's see. Menu, that is that level. Okay, so I'm going to say submenu. Okay, we're going to do some cleanup here. We're going to do it like this. And we're going to use this as the format. This will also help us with names that scroll too long and stuff. What is 3D Internet? That's a good question. 3D Internet is basically simplifying one big 3D game that actually covers the world in a nutshell. Well, basically it's this. You've seen, I've simplified the creation of 3D Internet into 3 parts. You have 3D scenes, which I call communities, and then you have 3D buildings, which are either physical buildings or sections of games that, like a soccer field. You walk onto the soccer field and it accepts the game logic as you walk onto it. The whole idea is that as you're walking up on things, it loads, and then as you walk away, it unloads. So it's kind of regenerative as you go. Now, the thing is, the buildings themselves can be hosted anywhere on the internet. So this particular program that I'm writing right now, and I'm going to release this month as open source, is actually a host 3D CMS for creating 3D websites. And they all interconnect. You can create a scene, then you can drop different buildings into that scene. You can create shopping malls. You can create all kinds of stuff. It's really cool, the ending idea. So you have 3D scenes, which are the communities, 3D buildings, which are the areas that you load as you're walking around, and then you have 3D things, which are the items you set into your buildings and communities. They could be everything from furniture to avatars to animations to vehicles and transportation. It could be anything we want to do. Now, the idea is that I wrote this in a way that just like WordPress allows you to do plugins, well, I'm setting this up to do the same thing. So developers can do stuff like create, they can actually create things like, let's say I built a car. I can just drop it into the scene as a plugin. People can download it and all of a sudden have it in their scenes and use it. So instead of each programmer having to create the whole game environment, the multiplayer, the logins, all these different pieces that make a game possible, which takes thousands of hours to do, all you have to do is create your component. And just like WordPress, we can do freemium offers. So developer can create a car, for example, and you get it for free. But then, hey, if you want other avatars to be able to sit in the passenger seat, or if you want to go high performance with that car or something, they pay a premium fee, either a one-time fee or a subscription to whatever developer wrote it. So the whole idea is to make this a developer's playground, cover the earth with a bunch of these server, hosting sites that can do this 3D internet and interconnect them all together. So yeah, that's where I'm going. That's what I have. I'm testing a bunch of stuff, and I had I had originally created a hosted site that did a lot of this functionality, and I kept testing different functions and trying out different things in it. So when I started getting ready for the open source, I took a copy of that site, which by the way is 3d.walktheweb.com. So that's my playground. You can create a login and you can have some fun trying different things there. But that is kind of a test site, so it's beta, it's whatever it is. But this one, I basically took a copy of that site, then I stripped it down to the bare minimum of what makes it work. Then from there, I'm moving everything else into individual plugins that we can set up a plugin store and download, marketplace type thing. And basically it builds it up, lets you create the whole thing. That's where I'm heading. I had to globalize all the variables. I had to make sure that they're not going to conflict with anybody else's naming. So you'll see a lot of this WTW, which is WalkTheWeb. And basically I wrapped all my functions into classes. I've set up the whole thing so with developers in mind, so that you can actually create things from scratch and drop them right in here and use them in these scenes. So with all that big mouthful said, basically I'm finishing up the touches on the login screens and stuff. I didn't spend a whole lot of time with that. Before I was actually using a WordPress database logins for the same site. Now I've separated it, made it its own for this distribution. I've been working on the installation process and the install steps, and what it does is just like it's PHP, it's JavaScript, it's it's the same technology that WordPress is. No extras, it uses MySQL behind it currently. That we could even adapt for other database technologies pretty easily. There's nothing special about the code itself that technology-wise. It works in a regular browser. There's no add-ins to your browser. You do not have to do anything on that end of it. Just by going to the site, it runs and works. So basically, I made it as streamlined as possible so that anybody can download the code, and just as easy as setting up a WordPress site, it's easy to set up this site. When you first get it, it automatically installs its own database, and less than 5 minutes, you'll have your first community scene and your first building up and running with your choice of avatars and up and running. So that's the idea. That's what we're going to have out sometime this month. I'll be releasing the open source version, and I have a couple more pieces I have to get in place. One of them is I host a site that's a shared community kind of site for this server. So like it'll be the marketplace. It handles the some of the multi-user stuff. It allows you to share your different buildings, communities, or things that you create so that others can download them for free. And so it kind of becomes just a mixing bowl of different things like, hey, I need a chair in this scene. You can just go search for chair, find a chair instead of having to build every single thing you do. But this whole community of creating this stuff is going to make it so much easier to just spend the time on the item that you need to create your unique games. So let's say I wanted to do a paintball arena. Well, I could use this technology, the 3D CMS, build a building just dropping shapes on the screen and cutting them out and making it set up, but then spend my time with my game logic of how it's actually going to work with shooting the guns and who gets hit and counting the points and all those kind of pieces. And as we create those, we drop them in as plugins. So all of a sudden I have this scene, and let's say I download the software and I go, I want to do a paintball game. So I search paintball game, I find your code that you wrote as a plugin, download it. Now all of a sudden I can turn any scene into a paintball game. So that's the kind of stuff I want to see happen. That's the kind of stuff we're doing. I also enabled some 3D shopping stuff. So if somebody wants to create a 3D shopping store for their business, or if programmers out there, people want to create 3D stores for businesses, you can make some money on doing that too. The whole idea is a platform that's open source, free for everyone, that you can create these different items. You can download the plugins and use them. Okay, so that's where we are with that. Been working on it for a long time. My background is I was the webmaster of the county of San Bernardino, which is the largest county in the United States based on physical area. Okay, so I did that for over a decade, and I have a good strong background as a programmer and as a webmaster. And so I came up with this idea probably about 8 years ago, about the time Canvas came out in HTML5. And I've been working on it ever since. Was doing it part-time for the longest time. And for the past 2 years, I've been just diving in and trying everything. And I quit the job at the county and have been working on this process, working on this code and everything else. So, well, definitely. I'm planning on teaching anybody that comes in, and I'll teach you. I have a lot of videos already for telling people how to do things, but as we develop this product and as I do things with plugins, I'll teach people how to create plugins. We'll be spending some time in Blender creating animations and creating some real high quality objects. We'll spend some time in in this app and installing things and adding them in. Just make sure you follow me so that you know. We're going to be releasing the open source sometime this month, so there's also some videos down below the live screen. If you click on What is 3D Internet, it takes you to the YouTube page, which has a whole bunch of different videos telling you about some of the stuff I've tested and tried and created and how it all works and stuff. But I'll keep on creating videos and I'll keep on teaching you how to use it. And basically, you can run a whole business just off creating 3D items for people and 3D sites. So making it easy, going open source so you can do a lot of pieces for free, and of course, along the way, I'll offer some premium stuff later on. But for now, just trying to get it out there and get it so everybody can use it. And it becomes our developer playground for basically a 3D game platform that covers the earth. That's the plan. So everybody can host these sites and they can interconnect over the internet. So you say, oh, I want to put this building from that server into my scene right here. Next thing you know, you've got that there. I picture having things like, oh, I want to go play a round of golf. You go to a virtual golf course, you go hit some balls, you drive around in a golf cart, then you go up to the clubhouse, and yet it's a real store. You can actually buy t-shirts and golf products, and it gets shipped to your house. So a mix of games and actual 3D stores and real businesses all in one. That way we can create things for businesses, and they're in real gaming technology. I really want to get rid of banner ads altogether. I am leading a charge of let's get rid of banner ads. If you put the real business in the actual game, you can walk up on them and go inside if you choose to, just like in real life. But yet at the same time, we don't have to cover up part of our screen with all these banner ads and advertisements in our face. How many times you click on one of those stupid things and you didn't even mean to? Well, the people owning the businesses are going, hey, I got 25,000 clicks. No, you put it in a bad place, and every time I move, I click the damn thing by accident. So, okay, my rant about banner ads is over. But basically, we are creating this whole thing where we're making it where you can create your own stuff. You're going to be able to just so you know, behind the scenes, I'm running the Babylon JS engine. So anybody that creates native code in Babylon can automatically put those into scenes. That uses WebGL, so we have WebGL active. We have, from there, you can do things in Blender, and they import right into the Babylon scenes, so no problem with that. So you can write native code. You can use my 3D CMS to do quite a bit of stuff on its own without having to do even one line of code for any of you that don't code. So this is my own app called WalkTheWeb. So basically, I'm using Notepad++. Like I said, nothing trivial about the way I code it. There's nothing trivial about what it actually does. I load the Babylon engine up, and I'm just running an interface that lets you do it. Now, another thing I did was, since Babylon supports all the 3D technology, it actually generates things in 3D, but then it produces the 2D camera views on your screen. So in the menu, when you're running the program, you can actually click on camera view, and first of all, you can change your avatar orientation, so you can do a follow view, a first person view, a scene view, and a self view looking back at yourself. Or you can, in addition to that, you can also set which type of 3D you want to see. So you can actually do 2D rendering, which is normal computer screen just looking at it. You can do a red cyan glasses, so the red-blue glasses, be able to see it in 3D on your own screens. Poor man's 3D. And then you can also do the various headsets. They already support about, I think, 8 different headsets, and they keep on adding to that list. I extend it to you, so as they add them, I'll add them to the scene and make it where all you have to do is, hey, I bought an Oculus, click, now you're using Oculus, and you can use it on the scenes. But that's already set up. We have a lot of those things in place. It's just a matter of turning on more of the camera views and defining them in the code behind, which is pretty straightforward to do. Babylon gives you a lot of great examples. But we can do anything that Babylon does. We can do import things from Blender, so we're great. We have the basis of it, and when we go open source, I'm hoping other developers jump in and say, okay, why'd you do it this way here? If you do it this way, it works just as well, or works even better, or whatever. I'm going to get the feedback from the community and see if we can't all as a whole perfect the product. I've taken it almost as far as I can. I keep on adding to it, but like I said, I'm making it global so we can go open source so we can make it better all the time. So that's where it's at. Right now I'm working on a couple of screens to be able to do some avatar views and stuff. Make sure you follow me because you'll know, you'll know when I release it open source this month, which only gives me, 2 more weeks to finish it up, just about. So I'll hit it. I'll hit my target. I'll release it open source this month. That's my plan. I'll make it available, and we'll all see about working together to perfect it. So, okay, so now with this stuff, what I'm going to do is, where was I? Okay, I'm in the process of turning a profile page here into one that you can edit by clicking on it. So if you click it, you'll be able to change your username or your avatar name or log in, and I'm also going to add email on here and stuff. So some simple, straightforward things, but right now we're going to set that up. I'm just doing a little formatting, trying to make it as standard as possible. Trying to make it look like everything else so that it doesn't the look and feel is right. Okay, so we have the, actually I want the display name first. Avatar display name. And then we're going to do the username after that. And I want to, there and there. And what I'm going to do is we're going to do a little bit of, okay, avatar name. We have this section here, which is already being populated by something else. I'm going to set that there, and I'm going to put that indented afterwards so we can see it on the screen all at once. And then this one is here, which we're going to put here. Okay, those are both of those lines. And we're going to set this up so that the first one is showing you the name, but when you click on it, it'll show you this value, which is where you can actually update them. Let's change that to edit display name. And anytime I name something, I double check in my code, make sure I haven't used it already, and we're good with that name. Especially when you're this far down the road, there's a good chance that some of the names that you want to use are actually in use. And this one's going to be edit username. Okay. And a little note, Notepad++ is awesome. Gives you the different colors so you can see it on your screen without any problem. You also can, it works really well for formatting things. There's a ton of plugins you can add so you can compare one page to another page to check your changes that you've done over time. There's all kinds of cool stuff built into it. So I'm a big fan of Notepad++. I used Visual Studio for decades, and I've used other things. I've used a lot of different tools, and this one tends to stick. This one is it's free, which is what I like. I want it to be something that if somebody sees me using it, they can do the exact same thing I do, and it doesn't cost them a cent. That's another reason why I'm going open source, is because I have a real strong feeling about doing things in ways that don't cost people money. And so same thing with when it comes to Notepad. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. Okay, so now the first thing I have to do is I have to hide. I'm going to hide these, which is WTW. I think I just called it hide, about as easy as that gets. And we're going to hide this one also. And then when you click this item, I want to show that item. So we'll set this, we'll create an on-click. That's the first step. And I created a function called show inline. There's show and then show inline, and all I have to do is give it the name of the item that I want to show, and then it basically will do that for me. Okay, it's great to have a bunch of regular class functions all in place, of course. Let's see this particular one here. We're going to make that one open this one, and we'll do a quick test. Right now, just so you know, what I did was I remarked out my course scene and told it not to load the environment, just so that I can test some of these menu options without loading the scene every time. If you want to see the scene, we do some demos on Mondays, Monday afternoon, and I'll show off quite a bit of things that we've done during the week and where we are in the process. I'll be demoing the install process from start to finish, which I've also dropped into some of the videos, so you can check that out. But from here we have this and avatar display name. Oh, see, I hid the wrong thing. And see, that one shows a blank, but the formatting's all screwed up here. So those two things show when I click them, but I left something up here too. So let's clean up that page. And that's the whole reason I'm working on this, is clean up this page, make it look better. And okay, so avatar display name should have been after this line altogether. And why is that profile? Oh, I know why. Because I set it to be that class, which is telling it to go float left. So let's not float left anymore. And let's see how this does. Okay, loads up the page, and that's what I was looking for. Now avatar display name, when you click on it, I want it to open that, but I want to hide itself. So let's fix that. And we'll just do it this way. WTW.hide. And we're going to hide itself, which is this one. So it's basically going to take its own place in line with the other things. So let's see, that one is show in line. When you click it, we're going to tell it to hide itself. I know I could have done this dot ID, but hey, it's the same thing. Well, actually, that is less letters. Let's do it that way. This dot ID. So we're going to tell it to hide itself and bring the other one up. So that's what we're doing. Okay. And open that. And now it becomes a square. We're going to tell it to populate so that it automatically knows what they are. This particular one already had a name in there. That's interesting. I didn't set it yet. I want to make sure I don't hit something here. Okay, so when I load up these items, or when I create the different items, I'm going to automatically update these boxes also. So what I'm going to do is we're going to make sure they already have a value in them. Okay, and let's say, okay, so doing that stuff, we're going to populate this. What I've done is, notice right here in the load avatar, we've set both of those names. We don't even load the avatar right this minute. Well, actually, that is when that name is going to get set. So we'll go ahead and tell it what to do here. There's a couple places where I'm setting the display name, and it's based on what's coming through. Let's see right here. This particular one, this function is checking to see if the display name's set, and it sets the values if they are. Set login values. Okay, so this is where I want to do it. This one here is going to get them right when I set the initial values anyway. So, oh, also, I did a shortcut. dget is document.get element by ID. So then all I have to do is say document that dot value, and I get the other part. And we're going to do display name here, and I'm going to grab the display name from my menu, which is right here, so that it populates it right when those items are populated anyway. So we'll do that there. And then I'm going to copy paste that here, and we're going to set the username right here, and I need the user field, which is this one. We're just setting up a little area where we can edit these items. There's also an email right here that we're going to we'll double check, and we're going to set the email address there. So we'll get to that one in a minute. I believe I'm going to strip this down, and we're going to get rid of a lot of fields that I'm currently not using. We'll let that be a plugin if somebody wants to add a whole bunch of extra fields to the user ID. We'll make that a separate app. That way, if somebody wants to really dig in and create this whole huge user app and stuff, and profile information and everything else, it can be a plugin. But the people that don't want to do all that extra stuff can definitely do it separately. Okay, so we have this. I'm working on some menu items, and I'm cleaning up some stuff, and I'm making it so that we can, you can update your profile right in this section down here. Trying to make it where it carries your username. Okay, so basically right now, what I'm doing is I'm doing a little good things like here. This is going to be clickable. When you click it, it's going to show you the username. When you click this, it's going to show you this. And if you change it, I'm going to have a little button to save. And basically that'll automatically just let you click change information on the fly, whatever you need to change. So we're going to click that in here. Display name was coming out blank right now because the display name is blank when the username, if the username's not set. Okay, so that's only setting that if all that's blank. The username or the display name is part of the avatar, and because I'm currently telling it to not load the avatar, it's coming up blank. But if they've never set an avatar name, then I want it to be their display name. Blah, 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 blah. Only in a couple places. Let's put, it's not blank. Okay, so that's, oh, I have an if statement. Only one of those are going to get populated. So let's not do it that way. Okay, that's those two. This particular one is going to be display name. So when the display name gets set, we need to do this, and then we need to do this. There we go. Oh, pardon me. Doop 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 doop. Okay, and So the thing is, I'm going to set it where, you know what, I'm going to do this after, because what it is, one of these do the login name screen, so it doesn't need to do that, or I don't need to set the login. I need the login name to be there, the word login instead of your login user ID. So, and I replace it with your user ID once you have logged in. So I don't want to do it unless it's not having a problem. Let's see. So right here, if display name is not blank, okay, that means if it's not there, then it sets those. Otherwise, if username is not blank, then it sets those items to that. And also, if that, then I want the display name to equal username before it sets this value here. So that should take care of it. We should have something in its place. Just working a little logic through that thing. I know it's a little confusing sometimes the way it's stated. See, now it came up with additional there, and it's not coming up blank just because they didn't do it. So now we need to add two more things to that. We need a submit button, and we need a, so I'm going to go BR, and we're going to do a line break, and now I need two buttons side by side. One button is going to be for, let's see, I'm going to need to make these smaller, clear buttons, something easy to work with. I know this is not the best. Input type equals button. We'll play around because I may make it a div that does something instead of an actual button. ID equals WalkTheWeb underscore button. I know I'm doing these one value at a time, which is, there's a better way to do them all at the same time, but you know, I could do it that way. You know, I just thought of a better way to do that. So we're going to do it a better way. And we're going to make this where if you click, I was just thinking about how to do this. I'd rather do one submit if you make any changes instead of doing multiple submits for each item. Just easier cleanup. And so I'm going to make it where if you click on any one of them, it automatically will open all of them. That way it goes through as one setup. Then we can hide and show different things. We can make it one big function that does exactly what it needs to be. So that way would be a lot cleaner than the way I was heading, and also for submitting things, it definitely works better. So I'm going to make a function here. First thing is I'm going to get the function in place so that I can work with the function and tell it what to do. There's going to be two functions. One's going to be edit, telling it to prepare to edit, and the other one's going to be the submittal afterwards. So edit, what are they? Edit profile. I could say set edit profile because it's not actually submitting it. I don't think I have edit profile anywhere. Let's try that. Oops. Copy, paste that there, and let's see if that shows up anywhere. Just making sure it's a unique name. Edit profile, that's the one I just created, so that's a good name, yay. And we're not going to pass in any values because we already know where it's coming from. We're going to set this here. Now, if you click on any item, we'll also put a little edit word there so that people can, you know, self-explanatory instead of just knowing that you can click on anything. So we'll do a little bit of both on this, but if you click here, then it's going to be walktheweb.this, and now we're going to take this piece and we're going to put these in here. I'll clean those up because of course this ID doesn't apply anymore. So we'll put this here and take that here. And now we need the, we'll move those around afterwards. Okay, so we're telling it to edit the profile. The first thing we want to do is if they click on this, it's going to go to the edit profile. It's going to hide this. You know, doing some things like this, they're a little bit more code, but at the same time, they really make the app feel better when you're running it. It's user-friendly. It basically kind of bells and whistles. It's doing things in a way that makes it kind of cool to see and do. Now, just by doing that, that's all I'm going to do so far. I'm going to show you the difference here and what we're doing. Now, instead of just doing one field, we're just going to basically in place turn them into a form. I might do this in more places after I'm done because this is kind of cool. So when you click on any one of these items, they become the actual field that you can edit. So nice, easy, smooth. We're going to put something in here where they can upload their new image. We'll put some words on there later on so that when they mouse over it, it automatically tells it to upload their new image. We'll take care of that stuff afterwards. But right now we're going through and turning this into a form. So the other thing we need to do, though, is we need some type of submit button below that. Before I do, we're going to add another field here because we're actually going to do the email address. I know, email and email address, I have plenty of room on the line, otherwise I wouldn't bother typing both words. We're going to say menu email, and this is only seen by the user, so we're not displaying this to anybody else, so it's not a big deal if they don't have this. Okay, so find that. I want to make sure that I didn't use the same name anywhere. Okay, we're good on that one, and this one. They're pretty self-explanatory names, so if I did do them someplace else, chances are I'm doing something I didn't need to do in a different place. So, okay, so we're going to take this one, and we're going to take it back to our function, and we're going to wtw dot, the first one was the menu, so wtw dot hide, and, oops, and then the last one is edit mail. So because I wrote these functions, it becomes really easy. All I have to do is pass in the name of a function, and the good part is it also checks to see if that name actually exists. So if somebody throws something in there, it won't error out or anything. It basically just doesn't do anything if it's not a real name or is something that's not available at the time shown on the screen or whatever. So it's one of those type items that it only does the piece that it can do. So the next piece we want is we're going to add a submit button just like we had down here. See, I want to use this type of button, and we're going to give them two options. One of them is going to be input password. Oh, what did I copy the wrong line for? That's not the line I want. I want the button, which is here. This is the div tag that is actually the button because it does a login attempt. So we're going to put that here. And I'm going to copy it twice because what I'm going to do is one of them is going to be the actual login, or is going to be the save information, and the other one is going to be cancel. So cancel has to undo the stuff that we're setting right now. And if they've changed those values, it needs to dump them back into being the current values or whatever we need to do. So we're going to take care of all that stuff on cancel. Notice there's some icons on this stuff. We'll fix those afterwards. The first one is going to be save profile. Copy that here and here. This one we're going to not make it yellow. We'll do a cancel button, and we're just going to take off this little div that makes it a yellow button. Okay, that'll be cancel. And we'll do our... What these are is these are the alt tags for the menu, the button. So if you go over the image, then you get the alt tags or title tag, and that will take care of ADA compliance for us. The other part is this particular one, ID equals. We're going to give this one and this one an ID so that we can start them as hidden. So we're going to do WalkTheWeb.hide and copy that. We're going to hide these two lines so that they do not show unless we're actually editing it. And the last thing I need is underneath that, this is going to be just to do it, we're going to put this here and we're going to create a horizontal rule because we do want a line underneath there separating the category menu buttons from the form that we're just creating right now. So this part here, let's name this menu. Oh, first WalkTheWeb underscore menu, save profile, and we'll double check, make sure that name's not taken. Only takes a second, but boy is it a pain if you have to fix one of those. So WTW underscore menu, cancel, save profile. And I know that one's not there, but just for redundancy and make sure, you never know what I did someplace in the code, especially when it's been through years of iterations and updates and changes. Okay, so this one here, when you open this form, the first thing I want it to do is also capital WTW show. And these ones is not show inline, it's show because it is the block version of show instead of the inline show. So we're going to do both of these buttons are going to appear when we click any one of the fields above. So taking that, I didn't load the email address yet, so we'll get to that one in a minute. And click on profile, and there we go. We have these items in place. And if I click on any one of them, they become the form fields, and you now have save profile and save that. Now notice how this scroll bar came up here, and there's still room it could have grown without the scroll bar. I'm going to fix that right now because what I can do is I have a function that tells it to test the height of an area. And let me see, where would I have that? When you open any one of these boxes. How did I call that function? Let's see. The function is called... Yeah, I need to find that function. It's... I know. This is the worst way to do it. How many million scrolls am I going to find in here? Publish scroll, no. Here it is. Show menu with scroll and then the item. That's where we're going to do this. So this basically reloads the item. And I believe it's profile menu. So this one is going to resize the scroll bar without needing a scroll bar because it already shows on our screen. So notice, I didn't do it. What did I call it wrong? Let's see. Show menu with scroll. Find that. I need to see because it's probably not called profile. Let's see which one it is. It is, WT menu. Okay, WTW menu profile. That's what it's going to be. I can tell you right here. Menu controls. Menu profile. That's the name I need right there. So we will grab that and put it into our function, and I just moved my screen where I was at. So this is now on something else here. Oops. We are right here. This is where we're working. Okay, so we're going to make this nice and clean. Edit the profile. Now when you click on one of them, we have save profile, cancel. Notice it resized, got rid of my scroll bar. Scroll bar is only going to show up if it needs to, which is the way it should have been in the first place. So that'll take care of that piece of it. Now it becomes the form here. We could make it even better where it, well, we highlighted save profile, so we already know that's the options. We have a cancel. I need a save icon and I need a cancel icon. Okay, we'll get to that. That's not a big deal. First, email needs to have a value, so let's put the email address in there. And we have these values right here. We're going to make sure they have something. The other thing is when it's not in this format, I kind of don't like the too much yellow. Too much yellow is like, I want it to draw my attention to something. So I could put a little edit button. I could just make those in bold so that, and even indent them a little bit. That would probably suffice if I just indent them a little bit and make them bold. It's just one of those things. I like nice and clean. So we're going to do a little bit with this display. We do not want class yellow on those items. Let's core CSS do class yellow. Let's go with let's call it, we'll be very straightforward, indent bold. Can we get any more direct than that? I think we know what that one does. So margin left, and let's just do something simple like 20px, and we'll call that indent bold. Okay. Oh, the other thing is this particular one, I want to use this cursor pointer when we're over it. That will make sure that everybody knows you can actually click on them. So we're going to do indent bold. That'll take care of a couple items here all at once. We're going to change this one, and this one. And that should make them selectable and look that way. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is if you can't, well, okay, first email address. Let's, okay, find this. Will get us to that function where we're setting these values. And then we want to add edit email address in its place here. Oops, not showing mine. I want this one here. Okay, so we're setting these values, and I'm going to set, I don't want to set it there. I'm going to set it here. Wait a minute. Those are the edit username. Yes, that's exactly where I want it. Okay, so we're going to add another one here. I put spaces around them when I'm working just so that when I go away and come back, I can do these things fairly easy and find exactly where I was at. So I put spaces around it, and then I get rid of the spaces afterwards. So these are the two I'm working on changing. We're going to make it edit username and this menu item here. So this name, not edit username, edit email name, and edit menu email. So now those will be populated when this loads. And the good news is if I do a cancel, which we're going to write that function next, let's get back to this area where we have this function. The next thing I'm going to do is copy that. I'm copying it to create this next one and cancel edit profile. And that one we're going to double check and make sure that it's not in use already for that name. I really doubt it since that kind of stuff hasn't been added to the code yet. We're going to put that in the cancel button. WalkTheWeb.cancel profile, and there we go. Now we'll do the opposite. We're going to, first I like to switch the hide and show so that we're getting rid of things before. So what it's going to be is everything above that is going to be hide. These items are going to be show in line. We're going to show those values, and then we're going to hide each one of these. So we're reversing what we just did. The other piece, though, just to be ready for it next time, is I'm also going to reset some values, which means once we've hidden these fields, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to set the display name, for example. This is the field, so I'm going to say dget. Okay, we got dget. We're gonna dget is my document dot get element by ID, just so short version of it, just so that we don't have to type that each time we need it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say set this display name value, because this is the cancel function, equals the basically get this value. And this is the inner HTML value. So by doing that, we're using the value that was already there to reset the one in place. So here we're going to set the username. Here we're going to set the email, and the username is this one. So we're basically backing out whatever they do if they try to change something, then hit cancel. And when we go to edit it again, it should be the right values. So okay, we're gonna test that real quick. Easy enough. So first thing to notice is my new format. If I highlight over, look, it becomes a hand, so you can select it, so we know that row is selectable. If you click it, it becomes the form fields, and it automatically shows us what we want. It resized the box perfectly, no problem there. And if I click cancel, we're back to this position, and these are set. So let me go in here, and I'm going to change this to testing. We're going to click cancel, and notice it's that, and when I go back, it's already set back. So yes, I did make those reverse back to what they were. Email address says username, which is not correct, so let's see what's going on with that. That would be that other function, which is going to we don't want to set the username to something if it isn't a username. So let's see. It's this one. When we run this function, which is set login values, oh, that's when you log in. That's not going to be when I just set the profile. So that's all fine, because if I set these items in there, it'll take care of them. Otherwise it's grabbing from here to user email. Actually, that should get the right one. Let's see. I think this loads after we do the thing, after we load the different values. Common, this one is getting loaded here after a login attempt response, which we have not done. And the other one is we tell it to do it here, but use existing values. So that one should have caught it because we are logged in. I'm going to validate a couple settings. Let's find out if... Okay, let's see if the session value here, user email, we should be getting it there. Well, actually, let's do this. Okay, if we come in here, we should be able to see what Z email is. Otherwise, if it's not undefined, then it gets it from there. Or if it is undefined, we should be getting it from there. So right here where we set it, well, let me see something. Oh, I know what I did. Watch this. Let's see. No, it isn't an email address. It's username, the word username. That's interesting. Okay, so let's double check. First of all, I want to see if this value here is the right value. You know, what good is programming without troubleshooting, right? If you're not troubleshooting, you haven't been coding. Okay, we're going to set that value here, and we're going to double check and see what value we're getting to there. And we should get that just by loading it, and that is the email address. So if that's the email address, then I just screwed up something somewhere in this area that's actually setting the email. See, that puts it here and here. And let's see, that's getting it from there, which means we loaded it from there. Okay, find this, find in files. This will get me back to all those places I was working. If I look here, menu email. Did I do those the right way? Yes, menu email should be going from there. When it first loaded, why does menu email has the right value, and then let's see, where am I setting it? Because I'm setting it to multiple places here. This one, where's that happening? That's happening only on a cancel, so we're not doing that anywhere else. This is the only one that's setting menu email, and that's where it's at. So, oh, it's not value. There's my problem. It's inner HTML. Knew I'd have to see something somewhere. Okay, so that one now, it automatically gets updated, and so now we get this. We have an email address. If we edit, there's the email address in there, and if we cancel, it's back to the original setting. Boom, nice. Okay, so the other thing is, a lot of people are going to have email addresses that are longer than that one, so it's actually going to need some type of scroll ability or something. So let's see what we can do about, well, we'll worry about the scroll later. I'll get to that because some usernames or display names, there's going to be some things about those things. We'll see about doing it. We can chop the name here and they can just see which name they used and click a button, and if they click it, they can automatically scroll and see the whole thing anyway. So I'm not going to worry about those too much at this point in time. We'll have to see about doing some things with that, but we can have some fun with that later on. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I could make it where you can actually scroll it. I'll play around with all kinds of things with that. Okay, so that's edit profile isn't needed anymore on the menu because we are editing the profile just by clicking on it. Or, oh, I know what I'll do. If they click that edit profile button below, then I will do this edit profile function. Yay, now we got that in place. Now I don't have to worry about adding another item and making it where they edit, because if they click there, see, this is all coming together. So if somebody comes in here and they go, oh, edit my profile, they're editing it right there. About as simple and straightforward as that gets. Okay, so I'm just running through this. Okay. Next thing we need to do, okay, we have the cancel in place. We can select any one of them and it'll automatically edit them. We have the different names of what you have going on here. And, okay, next I want to do the save function. So what are we going to do when we save? We're going to write a function. Yay. And I need to get back to over here. Since I did cancel edit profile, I need to do save. Copy this here. And the save function is going to do a couple things. Do we have a save profile? I don't think I did. Let's double check. If there's a save profile available, copy find. We don't need to make it any longer than we need to. So menu save profile is different. Save profile functions, the one I just typed. So we can do save profile. And in this case, we're going to hide these items that we just did after the fact. That's going to be after we actually submit the saving. Then the other part is before we show them, we are going to update the display. We're going to reverse these statements. So when we update the display to be, well, I'll just do it this way. We want the display to get the new name that they've placed in the field. And we'll do some validation on that area. We have a couple ways of doing validation. We'll get to that shortly. There's going to be something I'm going to go through and check everywhere that I validate, so I'm not going to worry about it too much from here. There's going to be a couple things I do on that area. Okay, so basically I've changed the values, reversed this logic so that whatever you placed in those areas get placed into the display version of it, and then we show those display versions after we've hidden the other pieces. Then also part of save profile is we need to basically submit that in. So I'm going to do this the easy way and just email server. Okay, we'll get to those ones. I think I started doing one of them over here. Nope, I see I didn't even have that function set up yet. Yeah, it figures. Okay, we're going to okay, let me just jump down a little ways here and I'll find a million of these things. Found the wrong one. Open recover, open get. Hello. And let's see. Submit. There we go. Find this here. Find next. Okay, all I wanted after doing all that is I just wanted to be able to grab a formatted version of this so that I don't create something from scratch and write it wrong. So we have that. We're going to put that here. And we're going to do users. Okay, I'm lining this up a little better. We'll do a check against validation. So all right, let me just say validate entries. We'll do some JavaScript validation and confirm that everything's fine. Then here, what I need is, about 1, 2, 3, okay, about 4 fields, 5 fields. First one we're going to do is we're going to pass the user ID, which if you look over here, we always have the user ID handy. And we're going to pass that user ID to this thing, which is dget. Oh, I don't want to do it that way. We're going to do var request. Remember how we did this the other day? Okay, so we're creating a request query. We're going to put in here, we're going to throw in the value. And that's a dot value. See, we're passing back the information in a way that becomes very useful to us. This is going to be just user ID. And so we have request dot user ID. And this is the way that we're going to get it into the function. I'm going to double check where we're putting it on the users page and make sure that they're all in place. We'll get that shortly. But in the meantime, I'm just making sure that we're passing the right values to this. So the next thing is, well, actually, let's do that. Let's find the fields of the values I'm actually going to submit. And that's going to be in iframes. the, not uploads, but users page. And over here, what we have is a number of things. We have user ID, we have user instance, we have username, and we have email, and we have, do we have user avatar ID? No, we do not. Okay, we'll pass that one anyway. When the display name is saved under the user avatar ID, so we want to grab that separately. But in this case, okay, so we have instance is good if the avatar ID is blank. That'll help us find it. So I am going to pass the instance at this time. We may change our mind and not need it later, but it's always good to grab the ones we need. Okay, we're looking over here. We have username, and so username, we have email, and the final thing, we're going to do a separate one for doing the image changes. So basically we're changing the display name is the other one. So do we have anything that resembles the words display name? There we go. We're going to do display name here. And the other thing that we're going to add, I'm going to make sure it's consistent in this form as it is on the other one. And that's on the avatars page. We have a field for my avatar ID. So this particular one, we're going to put that into this page just so that we have the option of passing an avatar ID. I'm not going to need to bring that back because we're not doing a return function about that particular item. That's the only time I need to pass the value back. So in this case, we have one more field. Now let me copy that, and we're going to get that name of that field. Copy. I like to copy and paste because there's less chance of typos and messing something up. So down here, what we're going to have is, I'm going to see if we can't speed this along. dget value, and copy that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different entries. There's not going to be a comma after the last one, and it's going to be user ID. My avatar ID. It's going to be instance ID. Okay, then it's going to be user email, display name, and did I add one too many? Yes, I did. Okay, so we will take one of those back off. And we're going to get these values based on our form that we just created. So go to menu. Oh, yeah, that's, it's actually easier to get them right here since we have all those values that we just did. So display name is this one. Put that there. We're going to get the edit username, our email. Our username helps if I click on the one. Oh, no wonder there was one more field. I didn't add username, so username, and that's going there. Username's there. See, somehow my eyes crossed and I missed that one. User email is this one, and basically it's those 3 values, and then the other things we're pulling off of default values, which are going to be this instance ID. Oops, missed it by 1. Okay, get rid of one of those. And my user avatar ID, which is going to always be right there once we load one. So that takes care of those pieces. And we're going to tell it, we need a button name now to tell it what to do. Save profile would be a good name. Save permissions, let's go. In session, okay, we're going to just put it first. And instead of save permission, we're going to call it save profile. And I'm going to double check we don't have this anywhere else. Actually, it's fine because this is on an iframes page, so there isn't going to be a duplicate of that on this particular page. So we do that there. And we need to create a section up here for saving the profile. So we will do it here, case, save profile, and then we have to create our function on the back end. So following it right on through, the next piece will be on our users page. We're going to pass the values of these various fields into, so WTW users is going to be the class that we're using behind this page, and we're going to call it save profile. And once again, I'm going to just double check to make sure that I don't have a duplicate name of the function, and that's where I'm calling it, and we do not have one created in PHP. JavaScript functions and PHP functions can be named the same thing because you're never running them at the same time. So with that said, we have 5 things I'm going to pass in here, so I'm just grabbing one randomly picked. We're going to do 5 blanks, and now we're passing into this profile function. We need, starting with the user ID. I'm not passing the user ID. If there's sessions active, we'll grab the user ID from there, so I can pull that one back off. I'm not passing it. We're going to grab it from the session. Either the session's valid or it's not. So we're going to do save profile. We're going to pass the avatar ID because that'll be for the display name. We're going to pass the instance because if the avatar ID isn't set, we can pull it from the instance knowing that piece. So I just want to have both those values handy. We need the username. And that goes there. And we need the display name. Okay, save profile, we need it right there. And finally, the email address, user email. And we're going to need that one right here. And that was the full thing. Hey, I was right. I only need 5 values. Those are the values. Back here, I am not going to pass my user ID. Got to get out of the habit. I type what's there and then I clean it up afterwards. The other part is, okay, so we have my avatar ID, which is going to be that one. Instance, there. Username, here. This grabs an instance of them so that if somebody immediately tries to change it afterwards and it hasn't been submitted yet, it will already function for what they've already submitted, and they can play around with those blanks all they want. It won't affect the process already being submitted. So here we have this save profile button that we created, and the last part of that is that's the button we're clicking on that form. That will take care of that value. It updates it in the database. And then we come down here, we set these fields back to the way we want them, and we're good to go. So from there, the next thing we need to do is we're going to, let's see, let me get rid of a couple of these that I'm not using right now. I'm good with that right now. Okay, so in the class users, we have a bunch of different functions to do a bunch of random different things. That one I didn't finish yet because that's going to send an email. Let me just make a note. That's another one I'll get back to later. And I'm going to grab a function here. I'm going to copy it just because we want the format of a function, and we'll put it here. And remember, we called this save profile. And because I don't like to make mistakes in what I'm doing, so I'm going to copy these over to here. Just so I get them in the right order and exactly what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so cleaning up that, I like to use, taking off this part here, and what I do is I like to use Z before all my users. Oh, notice I do not have a comma in between each one of those that I pasted there. Just notice that. That will help submit them. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to put my commas in place. I would have noticed that as soon as I tried this code. And of course I'd have to go back, take a peek, and then I'd notice it right away. But instead, caught it now, so we're going to make sure we add the commas in between everything. First thing, let's rename these fields because it's not the post anymore. I use Z for internal variables just so that they're consistent and easy to work with. The second I do a search across all my site, anytime I see a Z, I automatically know it's a internal variable to the section that I'm working in. Quick, easy way to tell. Local variables, since they're not used globally, doesn't matter that they're not WTW and all that other stuff that I've been doing. All my global variables start with WTW. Could be underscores if they are a depending on what type of thing they are. If they're a class, I use WTW hyphen. If it's a name of an ID on a form or something, then it's a WTW underscore. So if it's ID on a document level object, then I use WTW at the beginning of all my classes without a hyphen or anything. So the classes are easy to define. And then, so just different places I can call the various classes. iframes is a class that gets called from here. I've simplified things by rolling it into the class there that I can call different things and make them do different functions. So in this case, I can call a query. It will scrub check and do the query, and then it will automatically, we can do different things. Okay, so this particular one, first thing I'm going to do is I want to check and see that the user's logged in and grab my user ID. So what I'm going to do is I've written this little function up here. Where is it? Check username, check email, create account, that's all fine. Check email, bloop, 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 bloop. I know I've got this up here someplace. And let's see, check admin access, that's a good one too. Since it's your own email user, you can change your own user settings at any time. We're not getting into the middle of that area. User ID is valid. User ID is valid. Is that my command for doing that? Checks to see if the user is in the database, but does not test to see if the user, it's checking to see a past user. Okay, we'll have to get role ID, log out, login attempt. Okay, I know I have a function for this and must have it in a different place. For example, if I'm working with buildings, helps if I'm in the right area. I just want to use the existing function. I don't want to recreate a new function. And in here, I wrote one called, I'm just trying to see what the function name is, and then I can locate it. Delete building, am I checking? Check admin access. Okay, once again, check admin access. Name, copy building. Oh, this is a long one here. And I know I'm just going through here. There's an easier way to find this probably, and I'm probably just too deep into looking for it that I'm going to just find it this way. Okay, so I do check admin access. See, that's not checking the user. Okay, let's find out. Let me first see. Check login. That might be the name of the function. That's not a... Nope, that is JavaScript, not this. Fine. Check session. Probably same type of deal. It's probably going to be a valid... Nope, I don't have check session. Check user ID. Check user. check user session. That's the one I want. Check user session. This is the one that's going to make sure that the user is logged in. So notice I just have this check user session. That's what I was looking for. See, what that does is it validates the user and will log them off if they're not. So it already handled my code for making sure that the user's logged in before I do certain functions with it. It's a quick way to check, make sure that they're a valid user ID before doing something. If it's not, then basically it'll show no user ID and this kind of thing won't update because the user ID will be blank. So I can do that, and then I can do right into it. We want to update users, set, and we're going to set the, I'll do the display name in a minute, username equals, and user email equals, and now I'm going to pass these values in there. Okay, and user email, or username, sorry. Okay, and that's going to be where user ID equals, and I'm going to grab it from the class iframes. I'm at class iframes, because that's where I'm checking the user ID. So if that's blank, it's not going to update anything. I don't have to worry about it. I don't even have to test to see if it's blank before hitting the database with it. I can, yeah, we could do this. If not empty, we don't have to hit the database if there's nothing there. So if it's not empty, we're going to do this step, and we have no reason to return any results that way. So the only thing we're doing is that we will say z. We're using this z success, and if it did this step, we're going to assume it went okay, and then we're going to return basically a true. It's a Boolean. Okay, so now the other thing is, now that I know the user's logged in, I update this here, but it's a little trickier about this one. So I want to make sure, first of all, if this is not blank, you know what, we're going to do this the simple way first, and if everything works well, I'm not going to worry about it. But if it doesn't, then I'm going to go into more details about why I'm thinking this way. If it's not empty and is set, then we're going to do an update. We don't even need results. Let me take that off here. We're just running the blank query, and I'm going to run another query. We don't even need limit 1. Limit 1. If they're deleted, I don't want them to be able to change anything about their account. So, okay, so now I'm going to take the same thing, copy that, and this is going to update the avatars. It's in the table avatars. Notice we have, or it's user avatars, I'm sorry. So user avatars and display name in that table. So we're going to do user avatars. We're going to do the display name. Oh, there's one more piece I'm going to update. I like telling things when they updated last, and so here we're going to say update date equals, now. And then we're going to say update user ID equals, and we're going to pass in the user ID, which is this right here. That basically tracks what I'm doing and when things were updated, so I have some type of recourse to look back at things if something didn't come up right. So we're going to change the display name in this table, and we're going to update those same two values, and that's going to be where the user avatar ID, copy that, equals my avatar ID. And I'm just thinking about this here. You know what? I need both of those because I want to know that it's the same user also, because when they are logged in, they are both. They're both set. The only time you can update your password is the only way you can update the display name on an avatar is if you're logged in. Otherwise, I'm calling you anonymous, and anybody would know that. So that you're anonymous. So you have to be logged in to basically use a different avatar. Okay, that catches that. We're changing the display name, update now, blah, 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 blah. That's all good. And we get success equals true, and we're good to that point. Okay, so because I'm not loading my avatar right now, that part isn't going to update, but the rest of this is still going to function. So I'm okay with that for now. That's what I want it to do. If they change their username, I need to make sure that the username is available. So I need to do some type of test with that before I go updating their username. I think I already have a process. I already saw it up in here. Check username, find next, and it is right here. So we already know true false basically is what that's going to return, and it's checking to see if that username is currently in use. And then check email. We will know if that email is currently in use also. If they're in use, there's no need for an update. First of all, if you're the one using it, you don't need to update it because it's already your account. If it's in use by somebody else, you can't update it because it is their account. So I don't want to update the database unless it's valid. So we need to basically check username and check email on both of these things before we update these items. So we're going to do if check username, and that is that username, and that's this, get a function in the right place. And then I'm going to do that exact same format here and check email. I know there's a bunch of parts of this thing, but we're going to make sure that both of these are, we could do them as two separate statements. That way they can update their username but not their email, and vice versa. Or we can keep them all as one where they make the change. If we do this and they don't work, then I need to know which one didn't work. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there's a little bit of logic behind that. Right now, I need to know which one's not working. So let's do it this way. Blah, 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 blah. If I only want to test it once, I don't want to run two tests. So I'm going to if this username, and there's going to be two conditions on that. Then I'm going to do the same thing for if this. Copy that. I know this is a little bit more logic than I was originally planning to do, but this. Okay, so if it's taken, we're not going to do anything with it, else we'll update that name. And we're only going to update the name under that circumstance. And then if check email, whoops, what did I just do? If username exists, we're not going to do that. We're going to, only if it doesn't exist, we're going to do that. So, and then from here, we're going to take that, put that here, and that one's going to update just the email address if they are, if the check email came through okay, that it's not in use, then they can update it. We're going to add some things later on about the updating stuff. This particular one, we're going to need to know if they updated or what didn't update. So instead of just sending success or failure, we're going to say Z response equals blank in this case. Or we could even say profile updated is the default. Then if anything went wrong, whoa, did I miss that line by a row? There we go. Then this one will say actually, let's start blank. Then this adds username already in use. Username already in use. And we're also going to give it a line break just in case. And then we'll say over here, email already in use. Okay, that'll catch us for both of those failures. But then I want to have some good stuff too. We're going to say in here, username updated. And then we're going to say, just for the feedback, email updated. And then this one is the, I'm going to leave that one alone for now. We don't have to worry about that. We should be able to just return the response now. Copy that to here. Okay, so now that one provides a response. Let's go back to here and let's collect the response, which is going to be results equal, which is, notice that's results there. So results on this one, we're going to give people feedback. So now we need to take this. We're going to add something here. Case this. And now full loop. Boy, we're going through a full loop on this one. We're almost there. Save profile. This particular thing we're going to we need to create a function. After save profile, we're going to create a new function. I'm going to, I'll copy and paste so that we can get parts of these in place. This one's going to be called save profile complete. And it's going to have a response here. And we'll call it save profile complete. We're not going to put it in an endless loop. Thank you. And we will go here with finally, okay, so this one, just to continue down the process, right here, it's going to go parent.walktheweb.this, and then we're going to do, is it login response that has the login response? No, where is response? I saw response. Let me guess, I did. Oh, results. Is results anywhere? I'm not sending back results. Let's go with this one. That'll work. All I need to do is pass back a value of whatever it said in that blank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that field as a pass-through. Login, save profile, and I'm putting it in this value. And see, because I placed it in this value on the pass back through, that will automatically feed it into this form. Then I can copy by that ID to come back to save profile complete. And that's dot value. Okay, so now that's going to give me that error message or respond good, and it's going to pass it back to the user base, which then we are going to here. And now we want to show it on the screen, which is menu, and we have a field right, where did I put it? Cancel out a profile. We have, okay, let me guess, I got rid of it. So we're going to create a field here. Notice how, like here, I have this login response thing. That's what I'm doing, is just creating another line just like it. So I can get all my formatting straight and everything else. I just copy and paste it from there. And now I can rename this particular one to be, okay, instead of login, it'll be profile. Profile error text, find in files. Okay, that's the only one. That's a good sign. So finally to here we will say buddy get, which is document.getElement by ID. Instead of typing that a million times, I shortened it and created a little function. 4 characters instead of, what's that, about 12 characters or longer each time I type it. So, and then enter HTML equals response. Now, we should get some feedback from that whole thing, provided everything worked. So let's test that out. I'm going to come in here. Oh, first thing, before I test it out, let me just show you. If I open table users, right now I'm the only user in here, and username is my name, and the email is right there. Okay, so I'm going to first save it and not change anything, and it should detect, well, you know, I didn't detect if I didn't change anything that it would be my own email address. I can fix that real quick. That's a quick fix. Okay, so set username is that, blah, 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 blah. Check username. In the check username function, when am I checking username? When somebody goes to do something. What I want to do is username is okay when it's your username. So based on when you run that check, oh, why am I? Okay, I'm getting more complex than I have to be at the moment. I will take care of check username. What I want to do is I should check the user logged in, and then I should, okay, let's do this the way we should, because it's not an error if you are the one that has that username to use the username again. So being careful, we're going to, okay, we're going to put a couple things in here. We're going to beef up this setting just a little touch. It's not a whole lot. Oops. check username. I'm just going to do a different check based on if you are logged in and if you're not. Because if you're logged in and you do a check, then basically it's one thing or another. I want to know if it's your username that you're doing, and if you're logged in, you would have a username. So I'm making this a little more sophisticated. First of all, I check the session so that I'm getting a valid login or not, so that if you have timed out of a session, you're not logged in anymore. And then what I'm going to do is in this piece right here, so if it's not empty, then I'm going to also check name this, where username like this and not user ID equals, because the name is available to you if you're logged in. So a little bit of yeah, just a little bit of response on that one. The other thing I'd like to do, limit 1, this little trick about putting limit 1 after fields, because I've dealt with people trying to do SQL injection, I do a lot of things to prevent SQL injection, but at the same time, if you put limit 1 when you're only expecting one field, if somebody tries to do something, it really minimizes SQL injection to a single record opposed to more than that. So it's actually good in your statements when you're expecting one, or like in this case, when you say limit 1 and it starts searching through a record set. Let's say you have a bunch of records in that table. As soon as it finds one, it's already done. It doesn't care if there's more in there. And if it finds one, we already know that username's in use. We're done using it. We're done with any possibility of wanting to use it. So basically that right there will catch it and stop it in that particular area. Now the same thing I want to do with check email. So I want to know if the user's logged in, and if they are, because it's not an error per se if you're trying to save your own setting of your own email. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy that there. The other thing is Z results is array. Okay, oops, array. Helps if I do the right thing. And I'll do that on this one up here too, because I don't want to. Okay, so I'm using a variable that's created here. It sets it one way or the other, and then based on that, it uses this. Okay, so did I just do that backwards? Check user session, username. Okay, so it's not found, which tells me that it is available to save it, is basically what I'm telling it to do. So, okay, so same thing here. I want that where email like this and not user ID equals. So this is getting a little bit more complex, but it's a good thing. And we're going to drop that same user ID here. Okay, so now we have the user ID in place, and we've given that a bunch of stuff. Okay, and this one I'm making sure we're limit 1 on that, and there. Okay, so that takes care of those couple pieces. Now I should be able to update it even if it's my user ID. So let's double check how everything works. See if we get a fully functioning piece. Okay, so I want to edit my profile. I can either click on this or I can click here. Now I have saved the profile, and I'm going to change the username to test, and I want the email to be the same. We're going to test that first. So if I click save profile, oh, helps if I actually write a function that tells it to, or did I? I wrote the function for saving profile. Let's see, did I wrote the function, did I tell it? Ah, here we go. Save profile, and I didn't attach it to the button, so good thing we're running through and testing things, because save profile, save menu profile right there, on click, WTW this, here we go. Now we should be able to save a profile and it should actually do something. Okay. Bum-ba-dum-ba-dum. And we have this. We have edit the profile. And if I change something, I can save the profile. And okay, it wants to do that. I'm not going to do that. Okay, we had an error in the iframes. So good news is we can track that down. And the easiest way is I look on the actual web server. There's low balance web servers, so it's going to be one or the other. This particular one, it doesn't look like I've... Okay. Yep, okay, so it's not this one. Let's go to the other web server. And let's see, do we have a... There it is. Okay, log error. Let's see what we have. Analytics ID and that has nothing to do with what we're doing at the moment. That isn't part of this. I will catch that later. I'm not even positive which server I'm on yet, so let me see if there's a, check this one more time. There it is. Okay, so this one, okay, call to a member function. Let's see, dashboard. Okay, I can fix that later. Dashboard. Okay, user's ID, undefined function or query, line 477. So let's go back to line 477 on this file. 477, and let me guess, iframes. That is good. That shouldn't be a problem. Okay, function or query, iframes should be valid. We are using it in an iframes page. What did I could have missed something as simple as some punctuation or something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break it a second time just so we can leave that page up there. We're going to break it a second time just so that we can see what it's actually doing. It's having trouble on that one function, so we're okay. I just call it 2. Save profile, and it errored out on that page. Let's see what that page error is. And uncaught error, call to undefined function query in that, which shouldn't be an issue. Let's go back to our page. Let's find out global, it's called there. It already made it through this one. So this one, oh, well, there it is. Missed a greater than sign. Once you miss something like that, it's over with. Okay, let's see. Since I copied and pasted so many times, let's see. Did I do it here too? Yes, I did. That's why I couldn't call the function, because it needs a greater than sign there. Okay, now try that again. We're going to go in here. We're going to edit that, call it 2 just to do it. Save, and cannot read property value on that function. So init update users on iForm. So let's see. iForm edit users. That's the... Let's find out what that one is. And edit, update, edit here. And it had a problem with, what's here? Oops, sorry, not there. The error is here. Cannot read property value. Let's see which one we gave a value. It would be this, which is, this is the one we would be running. And that is right. Oh, there we go. There's a mistake in the code. We now have it there. And that's why we test everything. That's why I did all the renaming early, so that we could rename everything. Oh, in fact, since that was on the feedback afterwards, I want to double check this table here for users. Did not update the username. Okay, so we're gonna we're going to find out what's going on with that. We're going to make sure that the user ID is the correct one. We're going to do some checks here, and we're going to find out what's happening. If that didn't update, that would have been after the fact. So we shouldn't have a problem before the fact. It should have gotten through here. It should have run this function. Okay, so we're going to do a couple checks to double check and follow it through our code. And the easiest way to do that is we're going to go, I want to know here, first of all, I'm going to tell it to echo, and I'm going to send it to the console log. It'll be the easiest place for us to follow what's going on in the code. So we're going to go here, and I want to first see user ID equals, and I'm going to set that in here. I want to know that this user ID was valid or not. So that'll tell us the user ID. Then the next thing I'm going to check is okay. Okay, so did I screw that up myself? Okay, it's a new name. It should have been not in use, so it should have been false. Should have been here. So we're gonna say username, and we're gonna get this value here. So we know that if we see the username, then it should have been trying to update it. And here, if it's going to try to update the email, and then I'm going to see what the final results were at the end of this with the response. Okay, so that should give me a couple telltales of how far it goes through the code, where the logic's leading it through the if-else statements, and yeah, you never know. Let's see where we get to. Edit profile. I'm going to change this, but I'm purposely not changing the email. Change, save, and username already in use, which is interesting because it's not, and email already in use. That's the response we got. So user ID was fine, but notice it did not test out. So let's go to the testing function because that's obviously where it's having an issue. So I want to do the same thing at that level. We're going to go up to this test function up here. So check username. We want to see if the username is valid. So I'm going to first put the user ID here. We're going to put it with a hyphen just so we get some idea that we're checking it here. And then the next thing is, if it's not empty, we should be updating here. And that should be the username. So we'll put the username here. I mean, it's not updating. We're selecting username there. And where it's not equal to that, that should check to see if it needs to be updated. Okay. And if that's not the case, okay, in this particular, when it's not logged in already, what it is the username is for a person who is creating a brand new account. So it has to work for both. So that's why I'm checking it with and without the user ID. Otherwise, if you're just updating your ID, then it could be one function, one, does both. Okay, so this one should tell us what the username is if it hits here. And finally, if there's a result, it's false. We're going to find out which section it's going under. We'll just test this one. Let's refresh that. And there's a logic issue someplace, but I'm going to find out what it is. Okay, we're going to do that. We're going to hit Save Profile. And notice, okay, check username. This is the one I'm doing. And it was found, so, because I'm logged in. So, username additional 2. That should allow it to be, the one thing I didn't check was the success or failure on this piece, because that's going to be part of the case. Based on the results, if it found results or not. So, with this in place, notice I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way. We're going to come over here. We're going to drop out some here. We already know that the prefix is WalkTheWeb underscore. We're checking to see if additional 2 is here. 2. And by the way, let's see that it didn't update at any point. Username is still additional, so it did not update. Okay, just making sure. And then the other part is the user ID that it passed us. I want to use the same one to make sure we're getting exactly what's going into that. And oh yeah, go back to here, pass that here. Sometimes it helps just to see what it's actually doing, and see it came back null. We should not get anything back at that point. So if that's the case, we should get true, because we have not set it to anything but false unless there's records and rows. So we should have, okay, right here, let's check. I want to know what value I'm getting there. I want to see what success is bringing back. It should be what I think it is, which is it should be coming back success equals true, which is check username. Username is available. Is that the logic I was thinking? Or is it username was found? Did I just reverse the logic on this thing? That would, and let's see. Doop, doop, doop. And I'm checking to see if it exists. That's what I'm checking. Why wouldn't I? Success means it found it. Check username, it found it. So, okay. So that's my logic. That's where I'm going. Username, and we have success or not based on that. Why do I have username, 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 username? Okay, one of those two up there are going to pass the username. I don't need that there. We have success is going to tell us this time. Let's find out what that is. Because for some reason, name already in use on something that shouldn't be. So we're going to check. Let's pick a different number just to make sure. And success equals 1, which means it's a true. Means it found it. No. It means it's available. I have the logic backwards. Okay, success equals true. Okay, so let's go back to here, down the bottom. And basically, if check email means it's available, so we have to reverse these logic. That's what I did wrong. Okay, so if check, we're gonna take this. Whatever way I wrote that the first time, I wrote it backwards just now. So we're reversing our logic here, and we're putting it here. Okay, so check email, check that. Now we should get it, and now we should know exactly what we're getting. Okay, so I come up here and I go, I need to change this to additional 3. Save profile, boom, and we have additional 3. Username updated, which is in red, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And then email updated, because it's the same name, didn't change, we don't have a problem. So what I'll do is we're going to make it just one step nicer. Coming from this function, we want to decipher between something positive and something negative. The field already has the red going, so we're going to span around these words. Good news, it's all HTML, and we're going to say style equals color and green. So we know positive green that it worked, negative that it didn't, and boom, boom, boom. Okay, we're going to do two more pieces of this. So we have, okay, style equals green. I'm going to do the slash in this because we already know we need to slash it to get it out of where it's at. So passing it along, we'll pass it with slashes already in it. That helps with a couple parts of this. Email updated, and we will span, and that should take care of the positives opposed to the other pieces. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say I'm going to update this, and I'm going to take that. Oh, wait a minute. Notice that it said it did it, but why? Oh, user 3. Oh, I didn't. Let's refresh this page. Additional there. Additional without it. Where am I reading in that value? That should be coming from the login. That should be reading it directly from the database, and it should be the correct value. Somewhere down the line, I have something crossed, and I'm not reading in the new value, even though it's already set in the database. So let's see. I know why. It's pulling it from a session variable. When we update this save profile, I didn't update the session variable that's already going on. So if I destroy my session and open a new window, it would work already. But because I'm changing the display name or the username, that's the only one, I have a session wrapped around that one. So what I want to do is notice, since we have a session going and since we're changing the user ID, we want to update this username session variable in our code. That'll fix the problem. So when they do this, set username equals username, then I need to, following that, I need to set session variable equals that same username. So now we will get the session variable updated based on doing that. And now, like I said, it's going to read the session variable, currently what it is. We set it to number 3. We're going to now change it to number 2 just so we can do it. Save profile. We have it going to session 2 now. It updates it here. This stuff's updated. And now in the database, we're going to check that to make sure everything happened the way it should. User is now updated, user 2. And finally, I'm going to refresh this page and make sure that the session variable was updated as we expected. And, oops, helps. Yes, user 2 right there. And if I click on it, it's 2. So yes, it does work. Yes, we did get the value like it should be. And I'm also going to update .net just to do it. We're going to update that, save profile, and we have both of these items updated. Last thing I'm going to do, this is kind of a cool thing to do, is we're showing that on the screen, which is either a positive or a negative. on the scene. First thing, I'm going to clean out a couple things here. We're going to get rid of some of these tracking things we did to troubleshoot it. Just some helpful troubleshooting. When we can drop things in the console log, we can see things in different places that we normally don't get to see, so helps us troubleshoot things, find where the error's happening, and I do that quite often. Make errors, that is. No. And find them and fix them. So, okay, so we're going to take that out of there. Last thing I'm going to do on this piece is when it runs save profile and then it comes back and it shows us the error, the last thing I'm going to do is I want to, after it does that step, I'm going to do window.setTimeout, and this is actually a cool thing to do. I'm going to run a function and it's going to wait, let's wait 5 seconds. 5 seconds is long enough that if it's an error you can read it, and short enough that you can wait for it and it'll be out of your way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and set it to blank. Okay, and the whole reason for doing that is so the message shows up on the page and then disappears afterwards. So now watch what happens. It's kind of a cool feature, but this is something I like to do whenever I update stuff, and especially if I'm giving feedback, because you don't want it lingering around in here every time you open the menu, or if you leave it open then it still says it. So let's go in here. I go in and I say, oh, let's change my username. It's going to check, make sure it's valid. It shows me the message, and 5 seconds later, boom, gone. Nice, clean. You get time to see your error. You get time to see your good message that it worked, and then it disappears, cleans itself right back out. Okay, so that takes care of that process. And basically, like I said, we're going to be dropping this open source out here before the end of the month. So bear with me and watch and enjoy. Follow if you haven't already. You're going to get this whole 3D feature. This is going to be interconnecting, so you can create items and load them from other sites. It's lets you build 3D websites. It's a 3D CMS, first of its kind. Lets you create 3D websites, just like WordPress does traditional websites. The WalkTheWeb does 3D websites, lets you create modules, you can create plugins, you can do all kinds of cool stuff so that developers like you can create freemium plugins. You give somebody something for free. Let's say you drive a go-kart, and now if you want the souped up one, you can pay a premium price, which goes to the developer, so you guys can make some money at this. We can all enjoy working and creating different things. I'm revitalizing an industry, because guess what? If your customers, there's well over 4 million shopping carts out there, and if they want a 3D shopping experience, you as a developer is going to be able to create them for them using this product. You can create shopping stores for their things. People are going to be able to come in with their avatars. Remember things like, remember there's things like Ready Player One. There'll be games where everybody can jump in and play. You bring your own avatar with you when you go, and that's how it's going to be. It's browsing the internet in 3D. That's what we're doing. We load things as you walk towards them, and you unload things as you walk away. It's really cool stuff. So thank you for joining me today, and basically have a great day, and I will see you again soon. Follow me so you know when I'm online. Thank you. Have a great day.